Did you know a black woman designed one of the most famous wedding dresses in history, but almost no one knew her name? Meet Anne Lowe, a super talented fashion designer who created Jackie Kennedy's wedding dress in 1953. But because she was black, she never got the credit she deserved. Anne was born in 1898 and learned how to sew from her mother and grandmother, who made dresses for wealthy families. By 16, she was already designing gowns for high society women. When Jackie Kennedy's family hired Anne to make her wedding dress, they never told the public who designed it. And when a flood ruined her work just days before the wedding, Anne remade the entire dress by hand, for free. Anne Lowe was a fashion genius, but history almost erased her name. Today, people are finally giving her the credit she deserves. Maybe it's time for an Anne Lowe fashion line. Did you know the first self-made female millionaire in America was a black woman? Yep, and she built her empire selling hair products. Her name was Madam C.J. Walker, and she turned hair care into a million-dollar business, way back in the early 1900s. Born in 1867, Walker started out poor, working as a washerwoman. But after struggling with hair loss, she created her own special formula to help black women grow healthy hair. It worked so well that she started selling it door to door. She didn't just make money, she built an empire. She opened factories, trained thousands of women to start their own businesses, and even became a major philanthropist, donating to black colleges and civil rights causes. Madam C.J. Walker didn't just sell hair care. She created opportunities and proved that black women could be business moguls too. When Europeans invaded Africa, only one country stayed independent, Ethiopia. Thanks to smart leadership, skilled warriors, brilliant strategy, strong coffee, and bees. Back when Europe was mounting attacks all over Africa, Italy thought Ethiopia would be an easy win. But Ethiopia had Emperor Menelik II, a powerful army, and nature on its side. In 1896, Italy tried to invade Ethiopia, confident they'd easily crush Ethiopia. Big mistake. During the Battle of Adwa, Menelik had a well-trained army, modern weapons, and smart battle tactics. The result? Ethiopia handed Italy one of the biggest upsets in history. But here's where it gets crazy. Legend says that in other battles, Ethiopians would disturb beehives, unleashing swarms of angry bees on Italian soldiers. Stung and panicked, they dropped their weapons and ran for their lives. Even nature fought for Ethiopia. Ethiopia proved that power, strategy, and determination could defeat even the strongest invaders. While most of Africa was colonized, Ethiopia stood strong, becoming a symbol of freedom and resistance for the entire world. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X were powerful leaders. But what if I told you the real MVP of the civil rights movement is a woman your history book barely mentions? Meet Ella Baker, the hidden hero who trained the next generation of leaders. She didn't want fame or statues. She built squads of everyday people to fight racism and injustice. Think of her like the coach who trained the star players. She worked with the NAACP, Dr. King's SCLC, and even helped launch the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, a group of young activists who became some of the bravest freedom fighters of the 1960s. Instead of just leading marches, Ella Baker believed in training others to lead. She taught people like John Lewis and Diane Nash how to organize sit-ins, protests, and voter drives. Her ideas shaped the entire civil rights movement. Ella Baker didn't just lead. She built leaders. No capes, just plans and backup. Without her, the movement wouldn't have been the same. Maybe the next great leader is you. Before the 1960s, if you had a medical emergency, your ambulance was probably a police car or even a funeral home vehicle. No CPR, no medical help, just a bumpy ride to the hospital. Yeah, not great. But a group of black men and women in Pittsburgh changed everything. Meet Freedom House Ambulance Service, the first real paramedics. In the 1960s, hospitals ignored black neighborhoods. So Freedom House stepped up and got trained in CPR, stopping bleeding, oxygen therapy, and first aid, saving lives on the spot. They were so good, even doctors were shocked. Their success was so huge that cities across the country copied their methods. And boom, modern emergency medical services were born. Freedom House didn't just change history, they saved it. But most people never hear their story. So next time you hear a siren, thank Freedom House.